Do you want to hear something uncomfortable? Something you've probably felt but haven't dared to admit? Rejection, the thing you try so hard to avoid, isn't your enemy. It's your greatest ally. No, I'm not trying to sugarcoat the truth or give you false motivation. Rejection hurts. It burns. It tears you apart. But it also awakens. You know why it hurts so much? Because rejection doesn't speak about them. It speaks about you, about all those unresolved parts of you, the ones you haven't faced yet. When someone tells you no, they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting something they see in you, something you might not even want to acknowledge in yourself. Carl Jung once said that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves. So tell me, what part of you awakens that rejection? What inner shadow gets triggered? What insecurity resurfaces every time you feel rejected? Here's the mystery. Rejection doesn't happen by coincidence. It shows up when you need to wake up, when it's time to evolve. Right now, you're probably recalling that last painful rejection, reliving it, feeling how something inside you slowly breaks. Again. But what if I told you that rejection is the best thing that could ever happen to you? That instead of breaking you, it can make you unbreakable? Imagine this. Every time you chase external approval, you become dependent, fragile, a slave to opinions you can't control. And in that moment, you lose the one thing that makes you authentically attractive. Because real attraction doesn't come from constant acceptance. It comes from the mystery of self-sufficiency. When you stop desperately seeking approval, you start to radiate a magnetic, irresistible strength because the world senses that you don't need it anymore. And here's the dark truth that most people don't want to face. The more you chase someone, the more you try to earn their validation, the more they reject you. Why? Because the human mind despises neediness. It doesn't matter how pure your intention is. It doesn't matter how sincere you are. If you emit desperation, you emit rejection. Detachment is pure power, not because it makes you indifferent, but because it reveals a deeper truth. You are already enough. How do you reach that level of self-sufficiency? The answer is simple but brutal. You have to accept your shadow, the part of you that you hate, deny, and hide. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the integration of your broken fragments into a whole being. Only then do you liberate yourself from external judgment, because you grasp a fundamental truth. No one truly has the power to reject you but yourself. Think about how many times you betrayed your own essence just to gain an approval that never came. How often have you shaped yourself to meet the expectations of others, only to be rejected for not being authentic? Here's the irony. Pretending and chasing what should never have mattered will always lead to rejection. Real attraction isn't manipulation or some cheap trick. It's the raw, undeniable presence of someone who has conquered their shadow, who no longer needs validation because they have chosen themselves. The world is full of people desperate for attention, begging for scraps of affection. Do you want to stand out from that crowd? Stop looking. Stop begging. Choose your own path, even if no one else gets it, even if it means facing solitude. That choice is where true power lies, where the mystery of personal magnetism is born. You're not alone because you're weak. You're alone because you choose to be. And that choice radiates strength and courage. People sense it, even if they can't quite comprehend it. That's genuine attraction. An attraction that doesn't rely on gimmicks, but emerges from a soul that's learned to stand alone. So rejection, far from crushing you, makes you stronger. Every no is a call to examine yourself deeply and ask, why am I giving so much power to someone who can't even control their own life? Rejection forces brutal honesty. It shows you what you haven't yet conquered. It's an unforgiving mirror reflecting your weaknesses and your unrealized potential. So stop running from rejection. Embrace every no as a gateway to your own emotional freedom. Accept it as a signal to build your self-esteem from the ground up. It's not easy, it's not quick, but it's the only way to live genuinely. True attraction doesn't come from being what others want. It comes from becoming what you truly need to be. True freedom and true strength arise when you stop relying on external opinions. Live according to your own standards even when no one else understands. Because ultimately, that's what truly captivates. Relentless authenticity, emotional independence, and the mysterious allure of someone who knows how to be alone. Not out of loneliness, but because they've embraced their own worth. When you grasp this concept, rejection loses its grip on you and you reclaim your power. Always remember, rejection is merely the starting point of your true potential. Here's where it gets even more intriguing. While you're frantically chasing external acceptance, you're oblivious to the most profound rejection of all, the one you direct towards yourself. How many times have you suppressed your true desires just to conform to a mold that was never yours to begin with? Think about it carefully. The most significant rejection isn't the one that comes from others. It's the one that hides in your everyday choices, driven by the fear of being excluded, fear of being left behind. This is the most insidious form of rejection because it's silent, subtle, and, above all, self-inflicted. The real darkness doesn't lie in someone else telling you no. It lies in the constant self-denial, the ruthless, merciless inner dialogue that's far harsher than any external critique. That's where the root of the problem lies. You haven't learned to choose yourself first. Carl Jung once argued that until you become aware of your own shadow, it will control your life from the shadows. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's the part of you that demands attention, acceptance, and reconciliation. If you scrutinize your patterns of behavior, you'll notice recurring themes: failed relationships, familiar uncomfortable scenarios, repetitive conflicts. These aren't coincidences. They're your shadow's way of making itself known. Every repetition is a message you persistently ignore, an internal cry you choose to silence. Now ask yourself, what would happen if, instead of resisting rejection, you paused and listened to it? How different would your life be if you confronted the truths you fear to discover within yourself? This is where Jungian psychology becomes truly fascinating. Transforming into a complete human being requires confronting your inner chaos, your insecurities, your most daunting fears. As long as you keep ignoring them, you'll continue seeking outside what you'll never find, because the external world only offers distorted mirrors. What you truly desire isn't found in others. It's buried within you, in those shadowy corners you avoid, thinking they're too dangerous to confront. And yes, they are daunting, but only by embracing that darkness will you uncover your true potential. Only there will you discover your real essence. The irony is that the more you strive to protect yourself from rejection, the more you end up rejecting yourself. Want to hear an uncomfortable truth? Most people go through life without truly knowing themselves, acting through layers of mask piled on from the fear of finding something unlikable beneath. That's precisely why they never become genuinely attractive. They're mere imitations, empty attempts to please, constantly maneuvering to fit in, losing themselves in that ridiculous game that eventually shatters their essence. And here's the hardest pill to swallow. When you finally confront your shadows, when you welcome that darker side, you start living without the fear of external rejection. You realize that the most painful rejection was always self-imposed. Once you overcome that internal barrier, no external rejection can ever truly hurt you. This is the essence of real detachment. It's not apathy, it's not coldness. It's quite the opposite. It's the profound realization that your worth doesn't hinge on external approval. That inner independence is magnetic because it's so rare, so undeniably authentic. Everyone craves approval, yet very few grant it to themselves. And once you achieve it, you naturally stand out from the crowd, for the rest are mere reflections of insecurity. Now think about the people you truly admire, the ones who exude an inexplicable magnetism. What do they share in common? They chose themselves over external opinions. They embrace their shadows and resolve to live by their own principles, not by the expectations imposed upon them. It is in that brave act of self-acceptance that their attraction resides. They don't chase validation. They simply exist as they are, and that's precisely why they draw others effortlessly. Reverse psychology, then, isn't a sly trick or manipulative strategy. It's the organic outcome of a person who has fully embraced themselves. They don't seek to be pursued. They've simply stopped chasing their own approval. And that deep, genuine indifference is what makes them irresistibly magnetic. The paradox is beautiful. The less you need acceptance, the more it comes to you. The less you chase, the more you attract. Do you want to know the real magic behind all this? By letting go of the need for validation, you allow life to flow towards you naturally. You become someone whose essence is not molded by external circumstances, but rooted in a profound connection with yourself. And when you reach that state, when you finally understand that rejection only stings when you've already rejected yourself, something unexpected happens. The world begins to seek you out because it senses something unique, something real, something that's almost extinct in today's world. It's like searching for the key outside when it was always right there in your pocket. Now, I want you to picture this. What if today, right now, you decided to choose yourself for the very first time? What if you left behind every fear, every expectation, every label forced upon you? What if you looked at yourself in the mirror without filters, without judgment, without craving approval from anyone but your own reflection? I guarantee you discover something extraordinary. Beneath the rejection, behind the fear, lies your true self, patiently waiting for you to notice and accept it. So listen closely. Stop wasting time begging for acceptance. Stop waiting for validation from people who can't even validate themselves. See rejection for what it truly is. A message, a wake-up call, urging you to live from your inner strength. Because when you free yourself from the desperate need for external approval, something almost magical happens. You start drawing to yourself exactly what you need. And if you've made it this far, maybe you're ready to confront the deepest question of all. What would your life look like if you knew, with absolute certainty, that you would never need anyone's approval again? Here's the final mystery. Once you overcome the fear of rejection, you can never go back. You don't return to who you were before. Something within you changes forever, and at that moment, you realize the truth. You never needed anyone else to be complete. You always were. You just needed to remember it. Rejection, in the end, is not a condemnation. It's an opportunity. Will you seize it now, or will you keep waiting for someone else to make the choice for you? Rejection is more than just a doorway to self-discovery. It's a challenge to your authenticity, one that few dare to face. Here's another uncomfortable truth that most ignore. When someone rejects you, what truly hurts is not their opinion, but the way it echoes something you already believe about yourself. The pain doesn't come from someone saying you're not enough. It's that deep down, you think it too. You're afraid of confronting your own insecurity reflected in their judgment. That's the wound that needs healing. And this is where the magic lies. Rejection becomes your guide, showing you exactly where your work lies. Each rejection becomes a map, pointing straight to the wound that needs your attention. Most people choose to hide, deny, or deceive themselves because the truth is painful. But running from it only prolongs the suffering. Do you want to unlock a power few ever reach? Look straight at what terrifies you most within yourself. Don't turn away. Don't flinch. Confront that dark part you know intimately, the one that emerges when you're alone in silence. And here's the fascinating paradox. We live in a world obsessed with faking perfection, masking rejection as triumph. Social media is crowded with smiles, filters, and crafted poses that disguise deep-seated insecurity. Have you ever thought about what would happen if, instead of hiding your emotional scars, you revealed them openly? What if you dared to admit that you were rejected, that you felt fear, that you doubted, but you moved forward anyway? Here's the ultimate irony. The more you conceal your vulnerability, the less genuine you seem. People can sense pretense from a mile away. What truly moves them is not perfection, but raw authenticity, the kind that isn't afraid to show its scars. So stop treating rejection as a secret to be buried and start wearing it as a symbol of courage. Because in accepting your imperfections, your greatest strength is born. But let's be clear, I'm not here to glorify rejection or encourage you to wallow in a comfortable victimhood. It's not about martyrdom, but about becoming a conscious warrior. Here's where the hidden power lies. When you embrace the fact that rejection can happen without shattering your sense of self, you automatically level up emotionally. Do you know why? Because you're learning life's most vital lesson. Your identity can never rely on external validation. Emotional dependence will always lead you to certain defeat. But tread carefully here. I'm not suggesting you withdraw from the world and become an emotional hermit. No, this is about learning to connect with others from a place of strength, from someone who doesn't need approval, someone who is already whole within themselves, who no longer chases approval but seeks authentic connection. Have you ever noticed how the deepest, most meaningful relationships come when you're not desperately hunting for them? That's a universal truth few understand. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. But don't confuse this with passivity. It's the opposite. It's living with such intensity and purpose that you no longer have the space or energy to crave approval. It's about filling your own space so fully with your essence that rejection loses its hold on your reality. Rejection still exists, of course, but its impact fades because you no longer grant it power. You no longer rely on it to define who you are. Now let me offer you an uncomfortable mental exercise. Imagine for a moment that you achieve everything you desire, every goal, every dream fulfilled, every person saying yes to you. What happens next? Exactly. You feel an overwhelming emptiness because you'll realize that nothing external can truly fill you. What does this show you? That true satisfaction never came from external sources. It's always been within you. What completes you was never found in another person or place. It's found in your own inner recognition. And then comes the trap. If everything you seek is inside you, why do you keep waiting for others' approval? Because you're afraid of realizing that it all depends on you. It's easier to blame external rejection. It's simpler to point the finger outside than to admit that you are the only one responsible for your fulfillment. But right there, in that fear, is the key to your real strength. When you finally understand that no one is coming to emotionally save you, you stop waiting for what only you can give yourself. So what is the ultimate secret behind rejection's deep psychology? That when you realize you don't need anything external to be whole, you begin to authentically attract what you deserve. You don't attract from need, you attract from choice. And that tiny shift in mindset transforms your life. No longer do you live with open hands begging for validation. You move forward with confidence, independence, and strength because you know your worth will never depend on someone else's opinion of you. And now here's something most won't dare to say so plainly. Life rewards those who live authentically, not those who constantly worry about fitting in. The true irony? Society chases and rewards those who blatantly ignore its rules. The most magnetic people aren't the ones who seek attention. They are the ones who don't care about external validation. That is power. That is pure magnetism. So let me leave you with this final, profound challenge. Rejection is the sign that you're still chasing externally what can only be found within. Are you ready to accept the challenge? Are you willing to face the shadow to embrace rejection as the greatest gift life can give? Because in the end, there's only one rejection you'll never recover from: rejecting yourself. Now that you've seen the truth laid bare, here comes the most intriguing part of this journey. Rejection is merely the beginning of a much deeper, more mysterious path. Because even though you've uncovered the inner workings of your mind and the hidden game of rejection, there's still something vital you must discover, something no one else can reveal except you.